Don't miss the high praise at high noon, where you're on with Don. Glover Memorial Mortuary, located at 3241 Houston Avenue in South Macon, serving you and those you love with a personal touch is their motto for service. Sympathy, understanding, compassion, patience, and discounts available to lighten your financial burden. Dr. Walter Glover and staff are here to serve you and your family with a personal touch. They specialize in pre-need arrangements and cremation services with discounts given to every family with or without adequate insurance. Glover Memorial Mortuary, serving Macon and Middle Georgia since 1993.
Tune in daily and be educated, entertained, inspired, and encouraged by our daily talk show right here on WDDO 107.9 FM and 980 AM. The Overseer Mabel Randall Talk Show. This is the show that teaches church ethics, etiquette, and church protocol. She's giving sound church polity. Teaching every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on 107.9 FM and 980 AM. The Glory.
In the morning, Lord. In the morning, yeah. In the morning, Lord. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Lord, I want to rise shouting. Yes, I want to rise shouting. Yes, I want to rise shouting. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen. One of these old mornings, and it won't be long. You're gonna look for me. I'm gonna home. I'm going up to heaven. I'm gonna sing and shout. Nobody there. Nobody there. You turn me down. I wanna see my brother. I wanna see my brother. I wanna see my brother. But most of all, I wanna see Jesus. I wanna see Jesus. I wanna see Jesus. Gonna tell him about my problem. Gonna tell him about my problem. Gonna tell him about my problem. Tell him about my problem. In the morning, yeah. In that train in the morning. In the morning, Lord. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In the morning, soon in the morning, soon in the morning, soon in the morning, soon in the morning. One of these old days, and it won't be long. You won't go home. I'll be going on home. I'm going up to heaven. Sing and shout. Nobody there to turn me out. I wanna see my brother. 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 But most of all, I wanna see Jesus. 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 Gonna shout my trouble over. Gonna shout my trouble over. 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 In the morning, yeah.
connecting the community through gospel.
The new 107.9 FM, W300EB,
Macon, and WDDO 980 AM,
Perry.
Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
Welcome to the Issues of Life broadcast with your host, Evelyn Reid. This show will address health, religious, and political issues that our communities face daily. Let's go live into the studio with your host, Evelyn Reid, for the Issues of Life broadcast, right here on the Glory 107.9 FM, 980 AM, WDDO.
And good afternoon again. This is Don Reid here, substituting for my wife, Evelyn. I have with me here retired General Jonathan McCallion, and we're going to be discussing some things that happened on yesterday that he's going to be making an announcement later on and tell you about it. And I'm not going to spill it for him, let him do that. And so we just hoping to have a good conversation. And if you'd like to chime in on what's going on with the conversation we're going to be talking about today, you can dial in at 478 area code 250-1444. 478-250-1444. Now, you spent how many years in the Army?
I spent a total of, first of all, good afternoon to everybody. Yeah. It is my pleasure to be here with you on this wonderful Tuesday afternoon. I have spent a total of 35 years in the Army, 32 active federal service years and 3 years reserve. So 35 total years in the Army, and retired in 2020 as and blessed to have retired as a brigadier general.
Yeah. Okay. So you've been pretty much all across the world.
Absolutely.
Europe, Asia, Africa, Middle East,
we call it Central Command.
Central
yes.
Command.
Mm-hmm.
And so you spent time over there. Where were you at, particularly in the Middle East when you were there?
You know, it was really interesting. I learned a lot, and even had the opportunity to look at things from a biblical perspective where it was. But I spent time in Kuwait, in Qatar, Jordan, Iraq, and a couple of the smaller countries in the Middle East. It was an interesting time, very hot time, and a very kind of a trouble area, but nonetheless, you can still see the hand of God's grace in that area working through people.
Now, on yesterday, 20 hostages was released, and there has been worldwide praise and some condemnation from others about it. What's your feelings about the Gaza situation with Hamas and releasing of the hostages, yada, yada, yada?
Well, I tell you what, the first thing I think that you and I can probably agree mutually is that the land where Israel is currently located right now belongs to Israel from the Abrahamic covenant that God made with Abraham and the children of Israel. So that the land belongs to Israel right now. Unfortunately, let's just set the table for about 30 seconds. Somewhere it's 2025 and 2023, somewhere around October, December timeframe, Hamas, which is the leading faction in Gaza, which is located on the western southern strip of Israel, invaded a wedding party, killed approximately 12 Israelis and other attendees, and took 200 of them hostage. Yesterday was a day of reckoning as a result of the Trump administration's will and his work. The certain 20 of the hostages were returned. Unfortunately, approximately 24 of those who died while in captivity, so Hamas says, are not recovered, or there is no information as to where they are today. So the big deal is that supposedly peace can reside for a little while, and I'll just put that in quotations. But today, People are celebrating in Israel on their release, and so are people in the United States, except a certain amount of people who set an impossible bar for the administration to achieve, and not satisfied and joining the celebration that these 20 people will return to their families. And that was a very big deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what happened? Do you think the bombing of the Iranian nuclear sites? Do you think that has something to do with the willingness of other Arab nations and Hamas to do what they did yesterday?
The quick answer is yes. But let me tell you, the Middle East is a conundrum.
Yes.
Everything falls a certain way. It takes an extraordinary military strategist to note what the administration had to do with the Secretary of State. Part of that plan was to first hurt or harm, or at least provide injury to the organization or to the state, the nation state that was causing the problems in the Middle East, and it is Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Iran has provided weaponry and supported Hamas, which is the problem, and that's also Hezbollah, which is in the north of Israel, and also the Houthis, which were operating in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
When Iran was wounded, of course, that meant that Hamas could no longer receive help from anybody else. So they were wounded. So Hamas had to come to the table, and did so under the current administration with the Secretary of State and the spokesman that went forward. Bringing Iran to their knees, and we're not sure where they are right now, but we know they were destroyed. A portion of their weaponry was destroyed. So we'll see what that means. But right now, today, Hamas is now broken in Gaza and trying to figure out where to go from here.
Okay. If you'd like to chime in on this, you can call us here. It's 478-250-1444, 478-250-1444. I'm here talking with General Jonathan McCoy, who's also a preacher. He's an ordained minister. And so you might want to chime in and maybe help bring even more clarity to the discussion. Now, do you think, now we saw all those Arab nations got behind this deal. Do you think that when those nuclear sites were bombed, that those Arab nations were quietly celebrating?
You know what I think they did? Let me see if I can explain, and without going in depth. The Middle East, as I mentioned, is a conundrum. At certain times in history, Iran was a friend, and sometimes other nations were a friend, but sometimes they become frenemies. And we mean that sometimes when nation has to go up against another nation that causes the problem, then the relationship between nations change. So once upon a time, Iran was okay with the United States, and then it changed.
Correct.
So now we have Iran wants to be the hegemon. The hegemon means wants to be the leading nation in the Middle East, Islamic nation in the Middle East. But they have competitors. Saudi Arabia is a major competitor, and between the two, trying to determine which Islamic nation would exercise great authority. Now you have Qatar. Qatar is somewhat of a mixed bag. You don't know what we're going to get. The largest military base, air base in the Middle East is United States base is in Al Udeid, which is in Qatar. But Qatar also maintained or allowed the Hamas, a part of Hamas, to stay or reside in Hamas, and certain other factions, Iranians also. So it's hard to determine who's friendly and who's not in the Middle East. But the truth is, they're thrilled, I think, without making a lot of noise, that Iran no longer has a nuclear capability. Because with that nuclear capability, Iran has promised the end of Israel. You've heard the term from the river to the sea. That means from the Jordan to the Mediterranean, it's the intent to destroy Israel completely. So now that the nuclear weapons are taken off the board, or weapons of mass destruction, Now we can worry about the conventional threat that Iran offers. And conventional just means regular missiles, regular small arms fire. And of course, Israel will have to contend with that long into the future. So I'm certainly sure that most of the nations, especially Saudi Arabia, is thrilled that Iran no longer has that nuclear threat.
So basically, when you look at the Middle East, the one that has the biggest stick controls it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And Iran being a nation with nuclear, almost getting nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Had they gotten them, they would have been able to threaten the other nations. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
That's correct. Not only Israel, but they would have been able to threaten, especially Saudi Arabia or the nations that would not comply, because we know that just because they're Islamic nations, there are three different forms of Islamic groups: the Sunni, the Shia, and the Kurd. And we call it the triangle in Iraq. So there are factions that are up against each other, and I'm certainly sure that now that they no longer have that nuclear threat, a little bit of relaxing is going on. Now we're still not far from there. We know we have Pakistan and India, but that's a little bit further up. But we're always trying to mitigate that threat. But at least we have Iran temporarily under control right now, knowing what they have and what they don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the Iranians don't like to be called Muslims because basically they're Persians.
That is correct.
Persians. We do know from history that Persia changed its name to Iran in 1939.
Yes. Got good history. You're absolutely right.
And so when the Ayatollahs took over Iran, it became more of an Islamic type state with a lot of oil and resources. And some of the Iranians are some of the most brilliant people,
absolutely,
intellectually, on the planet, and but they can't use a lot of that because of the Sharia type
law,
laws
the government,
the government has imposed upon them. And so yesterday, as I was watching those nations in Egypt, there's several nations in Egypt, Islamic nations in Egypt, leaders there with our president. I'm thinking, okay, they had to play a pivotal role in this too.
Absolutely.
Okay. And they wanted this because I think some of them are tired of fighting too.
Right. That's that word, frenemy.
Yeah. Right. And so, so all of them got on board, including Turkey. Now, Turkey used to be a great friend of the United States of America. When Erdogan
that's correct,
became the president, things changed somewhat. He still like American money.
That's correct.
Because we still got bases over there, right? A base over there, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And so they're thinking that he might be one that can help them to get Russia to put the, to stop this war with Ukraine. What's your feelings about that as well?
That's very good. As a matter of fact, that is the discussion today. Unfortunately, Russia, I think, took a big bite of an apple that they didn't understand. Russia has lost. We're hearing upwards of 700,000 to 1.2 million Russians in battle, and some of those, of course, some foreign fighters. And they did not know that Ukraine would be that much of an obstacle. So Erdogan is brought into this in that he is friendly with Russia, more friendly than anybody else. So I think the strategy of the nation, the strategy of the administration is called diplomacy. Now, look, guys, this is a really big deal. Diplomacy is really big, and it's happening right now, even as we speak. It's to mitigate war and try to figure out how to come up with a solution that will stop the war, simultaneously allowing Putin to walk away from this with a good face from the perspective of where his people see him.
Right. That's important for people.
Extremely important. That's called diplomacy, which
Correct.
is one of the key tools that we use when we try to influence or shape the world. So if Erdogan can do this, and the administration that we have in the United States is smart enough to recognize that through the Secretary of State, it's a win-win for Russia if they can walk away with some evidence that they did something good and decent, and simultaneously Ukraine is out of the war and some of the land returned to Ukraine, and then peace can be reestablished. So that's a great point.
So Russia thought that they would probably be in Ukraine for about 2 weeks.
Certainly did. Amazing.
But they didn't realize Ukraine used to be a part of the Soviet Union.
That's exactly right.
So they trained those people how to fight against them.
Sure did. They used their own tactics against their own.
And so the war is yet going on. Do you think Putin is looking for a way out?
I think he is. That's why he's looking for a diplomatic effort. And the cleverness in the administration is to offer a branch through Erdogan in Turkey. If he's their buddy, he can use Erdogan to help make that happen, or even use China to help make that happen. So be it. Because if that happens, I mean, this war has been going on now for, I think, 3 years now, and Russia has not been successful. Putin's got to do something. He either has to win, or he has to show the Russians that he is winning or has won something beneficial.
Yeah, because in that culture over there, if he gets out showing weakness, he'll probably be assassinated.
Absolutely, weakness. He'll be assassinated. And it's like the previous leader. The intent was to bring back a USSR, a former Russian Soviet Union. That's not going to happen.
Yes.
So they've got to try to make face. And quite honestly, other nation states have to help him. That's the difficulty about diplomacy. People, and I know those who are listening right now would believe that, why can't you just go in and just destroy this or that? Well, it's not that easy.
Right.
It requires wisdom, the application of diplomacy, trying to figure out winners and losers, and ensuring that the big countries can win. Somebody's got to win. Well, everybody needs to win. Very difficult. Very difficult to do.
Yeah. Now, what is your thoughts on the fact that Trump has stopped 8 wars since he's been in office?
Yeah, you know what? This is very interesting to me.
It's like they're just coming to him.
It's very interesting to me, and I want those who are listening. Unfortunately, our media sometimes is not very fair to you, and then there are certain individuals who are so very partisan in their efforts that they're not telling you the truth about the things that are ongoing in the United States and how we operate in the world. As a result, sometimes you're not getting the truth about how the administration is actually impacting the world in a major way. I would say if you were to be honest in your comparison, I would say turn off the television and just think about it. Think about what happened, the things that were happening 3 or 4 years ago, and think about them right now. Let's use an example. Yesterday, the POTUS, the President of the United States, was in Gaza or near Gaza. From there, he was in Egypt.
Right.
He flew back to the United States, and this morning he's with the Prime Minister of Australia, still working. How does that work? We haven't seen this kind of energy for diplomacy throughout the world. So I would ask those who are listening right now, be open and ask the hard questions. I would think the President of the United States is doing a fine job in terms of diplomacy and keeping the United States out of wars and trying to bring peace to the world. I think everybody wants peace, don't I would think, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm looking at this dais in Egypt, these podium behind, and all of them want to take pictures with it.
Correct. Yeah.
And I'm watching it, I'm saying, okay, what is it about this man?
Right.
Okay, what is it about him that these guys want to take pictures with him?
That's correct.
And I think the number one thing that impresses them the most about him is strength.
That's correct. Let me just emphasize that right now. If you're listening to me right now, the United States has to consistently display strength. You cannot display weakness in the world. When the United States is weak, the world is in chaos. When the United States is strong, the world is moving toward peace. Think about this in terms of history, and you can see this why all of these world leaders would come up to a specific place, come to Donald Trump, not with him, but actually walk to him, shake his hand, make comments with him while the other stands in line to come to shake his hand. Now, that's a big deal. That's very picturesque, and it sends a very powerful message.
Yeah, because Erdogan, he just called Erdogan. He flew over the day after.
That's right.
And then you got Friday, what's that? Zelensky's supposed to be at the White House. All these guys want to talk because I think what they want to do, many of them, they're tired of the bloodshed. They're tired of the destruction.
How did he say it? How did the president say this? Let's trade war for commerce. Let's trade war for trade. Let's trade war for nice parks and nice homes. Let's trade war. I think it's a good theme on the for the people to hear. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Hamas wanted a way out. They lost all of their support. Qatar no longer. They kicked out the rest of them. And they were afraid that Israel bombed the building where they're supposed to have been in. So
I know.
So I think as I'm looking at things through the eyes of Scripture and seeing how stuff is moving toward the consummation of the age, and I'm looking at this and I'm saying these guys are looking for a way out because Saudi Arabia was constantly under threat. Right, and from other Arabs.
Agreed.
I think it's the Sunnis and the what's the other group?
Sunni, the
Shia and the Sunni. I think Saudi Arabia, the Sunnis, right?
Sunni, Shia, and Kurdish.
Kurdish, yeah. Yes. The Kurdish are up north in Iraq area, up in that area.
Near Erdogan, as a matter of near Turkey.
Near Turkey, right. They were pretty much friendly toward the Americans.
That is correct.
Yeah, but you got the others. With the Sunnis and the Shias, they got issues with each other.
The two major factions, they do have major issues with each other.
Right. And I think as I'm looking at this thing, I'm thinking, okay, because I already knew, based on biblical history and present situations, particularly in the Gulf War, how Saddam came to power in Iraq, and the thought that hit me in the head 30 years ago was, oh, okay, I see what's going on. The one that got the biggest stick rules.
Absolutely.
And you can't use diplomacy until you hit them hard.
That's exactly right. And
when you hit them hard, this is when they'll listen to you.
And that is the Middle East. The Middle East is not like the United States.
Correct.
The way that you lead is differently. Your strength, the way you display strength is very different. However, the way the United States does push its power throughout the world is also uniquely different. Nobody else is able to do that. That power projection that we use, other countries want to do that. But the Middle East is just real different. It's been splintered for a long time, and it's still splintered that way. But the United States today is a viable force to bring about, to kind of relax things for a while. You can see where it's going.
Yeah, that's, you think about, Soleimani was the one that was in Iran that was very close to the Ayatollah.
Right.
He was a very vicious, evil man. Trump took him out.
Sure did.
And Ayatollah cried for the first time in his life.
Hey, look, you had the previous Syrian prime minister or president saw that trouble was on his way, and he
got out, didn't he?
He flew. He said, "I'm getting out of here. I'm going to Russia. Russia let me in, hide me from the forces that are coming."
Right. And so what's happening in the Middle East, the dynamics of the Middle East temporarily has changed, because we know, based on biblical prophecy, any ceasefire or war is not going to last forever.
That's correct.
Because we do know, based on Revelation, that there is going to be wars and rumors of wars before our Lord returns.
Right.
And but right now we can rejoice over the fact that those hostages are home and they're alive. And
I think so. I agree.
And the question going to be now is, will Hamas lay down its weapons? That's going to be the next issue.
Now, well, I look, my time in the Middle East is I only trust the things that are directly in front of me. And I don't mean to be the pessimist, but I know what I've witnessed, and I'm certainly sure they will retain whatever they can, weaponry, and that's their strength. Those few little small armed weapons, or the few small missiles that they can use to antagonize Russia at a time to be determined in the future. It's just the way that it is.
Wow. You can get in the conversation if you like at 478-250-1444. Speaking of the Reverend Jonathan McCoy, retired general of the United States Army. He's very, very astute, understands what's going on now in the Middle East and also in Russia and places like that. Having spent 35 years, excuse me, in the Army, and maybe you have a question for him, and he can address it for you. And then we'll segue into another subject in the next 2 or 3 minutes. So as you are watching this, all this stuff unfold on the news today and the last week or so, how do you feel about what's happening now in the Middle East? Should we celebrate it? Should we, or what?
Well, I'll tell you, and by the way, Steve, I see you, Steve Bryant. I see that you've tuned in. Greetings to you in Alexandria, Virginia. Just wanted to notice that. I tell you what, the Middle East, anytime that the Middle East can have any remnant of peace, I think everybody should jump up and celebrate. It is unfortunate that there are factions that no matter what the president does, that there's nothing that he can do that warrants for a moment of celebration, just taking time out for the name calling and the negativism. Just celebrate that 24 lives have been saved and returned to families. Just celebrate that for a little while. Meanwhile, the stabilization of peace, stabilizing peace in the Middle East is always going to be a difficult task. But the president has proven that we can do something through power projection and through his influence. He's done it. He's proven it. So I think that this is just phase 1, by the way. So I think that we need to be prayerful that phase 2 and phase 3 can work. That means laying down weapons. That's going to be very difficult. That's going to be pretty difficult. Restoring some stability in Gaza, ensuring the people are fed, and even opening the eyes, the people's eyes being opened. Right now, there is an intimidation factor from Hamas and other factions in Gaza. So I tell you what, the Middle East, I spent a lot of time in the Middle East in the latter parts of my career. I tell you, I'm happy to be in the United States.
Amen. Hey, hello, Steve. Thank you for your service. I see where you spent 24 years in the U.S. Army. Thank you so much for your service, and all those who serve this nation in whatever branch of the military that you served in. Thank you for your service. Absolutely. And because we are free because you sacrifice your time, talent, limbs, and life to keep us free. So we don't want to take that for granted. Thank you so much. Now, you were talking about, the reactions with what, the positive and the negatives. I heard several years ago a politician say on television, everything is political.
Everything is political.
Okay. Now, everything is political. And you want to get into this arena. Why?
You know what? The interesting thing in that is that there is this fundamental belief that everybody, all those who are in Congress, in the House, in the secretariats, are very political. But I believe that sometimes you need some people who think the way soldiers think. You're not trying to get in to bend. You're trying to resolve problems. I believe that's called pragmatism. And as a pragmatist, your intent is to fix problems. And I realized this, that in that Georgia, an example, there are approximately, I think, the voter rolls. I'll just use the voter rolls as an example. There are approximately maybe 2.7, 2.8 million Georgians that vote. And I would tell all of them that hopefully the consensus is that all of the people for whom which you send to support you are not overly political, but are pragmatic. When I say that, when there's a problem out there, you want them to fix the problem. You don't want them to say, you don't want them to be party focused, and they have to a certain extent, but you want to fix the problem. And for that reason, I've made a determination that we do need some more pragmatism from Georgia.
Okay.
And as a result, I made a determination that I am going to join in and I am going to run for the Georgia U.S. Senate seat that's currently held by John Ossoff.
Okay.
And one of the major reasons that I'm running, I can't give all the reasons, is that I believe that with all the breadth and depth of experience that I have achieved over my 35 years, I bring more experience, more technical competence, more leadership than anybody who's running and than anybody who is an incumbent in the Georgia U.S. Senate. And I would ask people to look that up at jonathanmccollum.com. That's jonathanmccollum.com, and you can take a look at that. I believe that Georgia needs someone who is pragmatic, able to look out and say that, instead of looking down at charts and graphs all the time, which is critical, but somebody who's able to look up and see how people are suffering and looking at people to see their needs, asking the questions, why do we pay taxes in property? Why don't we pay taxes in Georgia, state taxes, when Florida doesn't, Tennessee doesn't? And then to the military, you're asking the question, why is it that the military are not paying their retirement's not taxed in neither Florida, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, and North Carolina? Why is Georgia the only southern state that's taxing military retirement? I believe the pragmatism that I would bring would seek to resolve some of those issues, especially the economic issues that Georgians are facing. And I'm not just talking about a certain party. I'm talking about all Georgians, because I believe that the Senate seat belongs to Georgians. And I believe that it be my responsibility to look after all Georgians, even those Georgians who may or may not like me for whatever reason. And I hope that those numbers are few.
If you'd like to chime in at 478-250-1444, you can speak with retired General Jonathan McCollum. He's running for the U.S. Senate, he says, and he wants to get in there and do some things for Georgia. One of the things I just heard you say, you like to get rid of the state tax.
Absolutely.
Okay. Why?
I believe that Georgians, first, we're already taxed enough. If you look at your checks and you see that the Fed has its hands out, the state has its hands out. When you buy gas, there's more tax. When you buy grocery, more tax. We're paying enough taxes. I do believe that we have to figure out how to cut spending a little bit so that we can do this, and we have to find a way. But I believe that the relief of taxes would give Georgians the opportunity to do some of the things that you want to do. And that's the purpose of a representative anyway, to get the government off of your back so that you can live freely and do the things that you want to do. And I think that's very possible.
Okay. I'm with you on this tax stuff, because I think you tax people to death, and when you tax them, and then the money goes different places where you don't want it to go, and then you find out later on that's where it went.
Correct.
Okay. I don't want illegals getting free health care. They shouldn't be in this country at all. I can't go to Mexico. In fact, my wife got sick in Mexico one time in Cancun, and I had to pay cash.
That's outside of the United States. That is a reality.
I had to pay cash. They wouldn't take no credit card. I had to pay cash, and I had to leave on the date that I said I was leaving. And here we are financing people who don't even belong in this country.
And that's the sad case of where we are. That and I'm thinking, do we have a caller right there? Is that but at any rate, uh, the sad part of this whole story is that there are people in this country illegal. In brevity, I had the opportunity. Yes, there is a phone call. We want to pause and take that.
Yeah,
caller.
let's take a phone call. You on? You have a question?
Hi, gentlemen.
Give
Yes,
us your
my name is
comment, whatever. Go ahead.
Susan.
Listen. Hello.
And thank you. Yes, my name is Stacy Jenkins. I live here locally in Macon. And
Good. Hey,
I was
Stacy.
enjoying the conversation you two gentlemen were having. Also want to thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I do hear that you're wanting to run for the new open seat that's coming up in the primaries on next year against John Ossoff.
That's correct.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. So I'm neither a Democrat neither am I a Republican.
Okay.
But I wanted to know what are some of your thoughts right now on what's happening with the 14-day shutdown that's going on with the government shutdown, and in regards to the unwillingness of the Republican side in regards to Georgia citizens in our health care. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Okay, good. And that's a very good question, caller, and I want to thank you again for calling in. First, just a 30-second background. The reason that the government is now shut down because Congress has refused to execute a budget or a continuing resolution, because we know that the government shuts down, the fiscal year ends for the government on September 30th. So Congress has to provide a budget. According to the Constitution, Congress is required to provide a budget. In this case, it would be a continuing resolution just to keep the government open. So a vote took place to do a continuing resolution that would have kept the government running in such time that the government could continue operating everywhere, while the Congress would continue to iron out different bills and different appropriations for another bill that would come up later in November. The vote now, the current vote now is, I believe there are 53 senators have determined that the government needs to open. The remaining number have decided that the government needs to be shut down because the one group have made a determination to use an external and unassociated issue. And while it is important, I would state that you can't shut the government down to destroy or harm 100 other issues while trying to fix one in hopes that you can repair one. I believe that the pragmatism that I'm talking about as a leader would say that I need to keep the government open so that we can resolve that issue for whom which the other party continues to hold the government hostage, for an example. I do think that the one party wants to hold the other accountable by asking them to add something to the budget, $1.5 trillion. There is a mixed reason. One is that they want those who are illegal to receive health care. The other reason that they're using is that they want this government to fund a portion of Obamacare. Well, the one thing that I'll tell you about, if it is to fund Obamacare, the first thing I want to tell you that the Obamacare, which was called the Affordable Care Act, if it's so affordable, why then do we need to appropriate additional funds for people? It goes to tell you that there is a folly, that the bill itself is problematic. And I do believe that we need to fix that in the future. But I don't believe that you can hold the government hold 330 million people hostage because you can't get your way because you're not in the majority. I believe a former president, Barack Obama, once stated that the winner gets to make the decisions. In this case, the Republicans, I think, won and hold the seats in the Senate and in the House, although the seats are not great. So I believe that right now that
Can I
Vic,
add something? The only thing I'll say, and I do like the keyword that you use, pragmatic. And I think that moving forward, there's two things that I think all Georgia citizens can agree on, and that is to continue affordable care in our healthcare system, and also to actually being able to retain jobs based on our current educational situation that we have here in Georgia. A lot of our students are not going into the workforce AI prepared. A lot of them do not have engineering backgrounds, computer backgrounds, and a lot of it is holding our state back from becoming um, good grounds for other companies outside of just Hyundai to come into to bring $1 billion um, contracts with. But I will say this in regards to the 14-day shutdown, I think it is due to now both sides are trying to come together, even including Marjorie Taylor Greene is now starting to see the other side of that grass that is not so green on one side, and she's starting to see the other side. And that's the reason why I said I'm not Republican or Democrat. I think that they're starting to see that it's not only going to affect just Democrats wanting to get one side, and it's not based on just illegal immigrants that come to this country being on that health care. It's also about the increased amount of money that will be on Georgia citizens if that bill is passed without any type of resolution coming, any type of compromise coming to an agreement. We are going to suffer the most, citizens all across the United States, especially Georgia citizens.
Okay, absolutely. Great points. But let me remind you that a continuing resolution does not mean an additional appropriation or additional funds are added. It is a continuing resolution means that you're using the very same funds from either last year or the last time that funds were made available. So nothing's really added. You're just continuing to operate the government at the very same levels. And this is where I say that pragmatism comes in. Pragmatism means that you've got to go ahead. You can't stop the government from operating because you don't have your way. The government needs to operate because today there are people who don't have their salaries and people are hurting now. So now you're creating additional problems. But I believe that you've got to go ahead and obtain a continuing resolution and then continue to negotiate those issues that we are talking about. But you can't hold the government hostage. And you as a citizen, you want us to go figure this out and get this right. Unfortunately, the two senators from Georgia are accomplices in shutting the government down. As a military, being pragmatic about things, I think that that's not the right way to do this. That's why we have so many difficulties in the Middle East, because people won't talk and people won't communicate. You've got to keep the communication open, and you've got to bring the people to the table so that they can resolve the tough problems. Thank you, caller. Very good points, and I trust that you'll stay involved in the upcoming election, and that you can go to jonathanmccollum.com and then look at that and see what you think.
Thank you so much for calling in. And again, we got Steve to say he's from Macon, Georgia, living in Alexandria, Virginia. Thank you again, Steve, for listening to our broadcast here. And we got about 2 minutes left. Okay. Anything you want to say to kind of lead us out?
And absolutely, I could go on forever telling you about the things that I believe that need to be improved in Georgia, but I'm just going to talk about one more issue that's in the Middle East as I get ready to conclude. That is that we have the largest employer in Middle Georgia is Robins Air Force Base. It employs approximately 7,000 people. It contributes approximately $5 billion to the economy in Middle Georgia. Right now, we don't have a senator who is a veteran or understands the military. I would ask you this question. When you want to strengthen Robins Air Force Base for the future, whom do you want? Someone sitting at the table who understands the infrastructure of the military, the logistics and the engineering and all those things required to build Robins Air Force Base, or someone who's inexperienced? I would bring that to the table as your senator. And there's so much more. So look out for jonathanmccollum.com. We're about to run out of time right now, so I would like to continue this, but go to my website, jonathanmccollum.com. Just take a look and tell me what you think. I'm homegrown. I'm from Warner Robins. So look at this information. Let's see what we can do.
Wow. You really want to get into this?
It's tough.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in to Issues
Thank
of
you for
Life.
joining the Issues of
Be
Life
blessed.
broadcast with
And
your
go to
host.
Bible study tomorrow night and
Be
church on
sure
Sunday.
to tune in every Tuesday from 4:15 to 4:45 p.m. as she addresses the health, religious, and political issues that our communities face daily, right here on the Glory 107.9 FM, 980 AM, WDDO.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views